yeah. Well, that's all. Yeah,
Shanta like was on Netzel Savage because the name Sanda Bugu Savage and a Kogadu.
Ah, bearable.
And because the Apple Young Yaget and I Monam Gionoche. That's Chick Tinsong.
I'm a trader, I would say. So, which gets some of the door.
Did
Just delay you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's some. Sanje Choda
Jordan Sogi Sonama, Janju Badu, Dani Gamsuchi, Nagi Jordan, Gibet Sokangi, Jolam Hunter Sangi Tupa Show.
Sanje Choda
Jordan Sogi Jonama, Janju Badu, Dani Gamsuchi, Nagi Jordan, Gibet Sokangi, Jolam Hunter Sangi Tupa Show.
Sanje Choda
Jordan Sogi Jonama, Janju Badu, Dani Gamsuchi, Nagi Jordan, Gibet Sokangi, Jolam Hunter Sangi Tupa Show.
Tayantan Gade
Gate para some gate bodies Tayantan gate para some gate bodies Tayata gate para some gate bodies
Well, so that's him jet Tamjago to the Topjalana Machiba, Sanje, Combara, was a teenager Tobarcha. And the teacher to any bed, Janjus and Balabjan, the Twitch, the Nams Langureta, Langware, Shingore, Shibale, Tubale, Tuju, Mano, Chicotu, and Casupawa, the Kessich Bushiwa like Zebe, and the Juju within the Teshet against some chat.
And so, as usual, we begin by setting our motivation, and that motivation is directed at doing whatever we possibly can to quickly attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all living beings. And to do that, of course, we must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. And we know that in order to do that, we must train in those trainings. We must then have an understanding of those trainings, and we must gain that understanding by being able to rely upon a non-mistaken source of those teachings. And so we have the good fortune to be here today to listen to a teaching as composed by the great master Shantideva called The Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which details just those teachings.
And Chigioba and the Rangi Tungi Nangala, more Rangi Tinjata, Lama Imbala, number and Tabjala, Tuji Chambo the Temba, and Lama Tuba, which set up.
And as we also are listening to this teaching in terms of to facilitate meditation on it, we again set up the merit field in front of us of the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, who is in essence our own precious root guru.
And the Rangi Tago and the Rangi Seti Pamane, Seti Pama Tsengama, Dingama, Tomamevan, Rangi Joy, marking a simjet, draw to do a simjet time, Masama never use some such.
And all around us, we visualize our parents of this life, our parents of the previous life, and the previous life to that. And going back to beginningless time, meaning that we are visualizing all all kind mother sentient beings of the 6 realms of existence.
And Ranga Duna said, Dunga Nangala said, Lama Tuba Omboti, and Chivo Omka, whatever Amo, Tuga Hongos, Igi subject said, Tuga Hule, and we said, because a part of Meva Tuna, and because of the Shirajana Yeshiva, and because of the Takaja Yeshiva, one of the Java Gender, Yeshiva Lama Tuba Omba number gender, only on which you love Mijo Ujen, what is Kobashi.
And in focusing again on the figure of the Buddha, the Guru Manindra in front of us, we see that the Buddha is marked by 3 syllables, a white Om at the crown, a red A at the throat, and a blue hung at the heart center. And from that blue hung at the heart center, light rays emanate, going out into the pure realms and inviting back the wisdom beings and the empowering deities. The wisdom beings dissolve into the central figure of Guru Manindra, and the empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown, producing the figure of Akshobhya.
Then Lama to be on board the bank, Mosuba, that is Shiba, Mosu, Mosuba, dear, and Choju, and Casada, Dakaja, Chicaso, the Choju, and Sanja Tamjaka, Dani to what the dead and what in the chat, and then Lama to be on board there, and the Chicaso, Juve Doga, not so much a journey, and the Sing Gaso Dakaja, Madabe Singla, and Juba not so much then, and Sinja human member Joachina. What in the and top to not so bad on the Cassia Junior Simja doing to two because of two Martin. Ya Gasha part to the bed, then the Casura Takaja because then Nisan due to any bear Simja the Yome but not the what else you come.
We have the certainty that the figure that we are visualizing in the space in front is in actual fact the embodiment of all the Buddhas of the 3 times and the 10 directions. This is not a static scene that we are visualizing, but a busy thoroughfare with emanations going out from the heart center of Guru Munindra, fulfilling the aims of sentient beings, ripening the minds of disciples that need to be ripened, further ripening those that are already partially ripened, and then returning again, so that there's this constant to and fro of emanations going out to engage in beneficial activity for the benefit of sentient beings.
What is it? And the Lama to be on board there, and Ranchi Batam Jawa, Shanti Bala to a tile, Kawa, Kula to Jimmy, remember to a Panta Mata, Tam to the doing seconds. What I didn't about Mosuma Yeshiva, Mosukora shooting at the Rangi doing Nagala, you are some such. Rangi Tago, the Magasam Jatamja, and took a reduce to doing Nashima Kansela, then take a Lama to be on board the la, and a diet of you take it about Mundo today, you take it. What did you come shit?
And that the figure that we are visualizing in front of the Guru Munindra is completely free of all fear in relation to suffering for themselves, is expert and in being able to relieve the suffering of all others, who works for the benefit of others without bias and with great compassion, and engages in beneficial activity without a thought to receiving any benefit in return. And so is thoroughly qualified as an enlightened being, completely automatically set on the benefiting all other sentient beings. The sentient beings all around us are members of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, and as such undergoing the specific sufferings therein, yet they also have, like us, this faith in focusing on the Guru Munindra in front, and embody the triple aspects of that faith, the pure faith, the faith of conviction and manifest faith.
What is combat? And it the what the Lama to be on body, and you and their Tonshiba and Simja Tamje and Chicasota. Then Chicasota Lamas to be on Compala and go to the Chimaru, the lay in that the Kobe Chedo, and Lama to be on Combat Tomla Chimaru, Toba Juja, Toba Shoji. Matam the Chimodo, there's a Toba Juja, Toba Shuja, Toba then, Lama Tuba will be jingle up to Scombashet.
So then, in contemplating the qualities of the enlightened being and in contemplating the suffering of all sentient beings, one reaches the firm conclusion that yes, there is no choice but to attain that same state of enlightenment. May I be able to do this? I pray that I will be able to do this. I will try and do this. So Guru Deity, please bless me to be able to do this, to attain that state of enlightenment.
What are the Lama to on the combat Tovala and a Chanjuga sing with Yamlechi to Chanju Simbe, Chanjuga sing with Yamlet, Chanjuga sing with Yamlet, and Chanju Simbe Chovala Laguto, the day in Baza, and the Shung 아니 가서 전주고 숑데 아니 디체도 다 제시 침부시 디체도 얘기 예서 라마토베 온부 검시베 거는 공부시했지.
And so with that as our motivation, we again reaffirm that, of course, we know that what is essential to attaining that state of enlightenment is to generate the mind of enlightenment. Not only that, but to train in the activities of that, having generated that mind of enlightenment. And this is precisely why I am here to listen to teaching from the Bodhisattva's way of life, a text which is focused on just that. And so I will do my best to listen as attentively as possible. 이 속산데 기아탕 준주 덕분이게 이 소발레유 아니 저 길기 찍기 송바 랑기 니에발라 삼바나니
랑기 니에발라 삼바네 랑기 예스 랑기 수바 랑기 니에바 니에발 삼바네 자월레 칸지 샤다 되체베 레도 문제 치치치 몰라서 그래다 저 강에다 근데 로다 뭐저 코알라 코코에테 랑이 코알라 코에게 주투네 용거되게 열봐 코에 주밤도 같이 용되게 열해 아니 코에다 네버를 동에 나서봐 용거되데 셰 괜찮아 열해 얘네야 저도 소수 좀 용되게 열봐 랑이 네바게 랑이 교기 해야 되면 띵고 좀 받쳐야 깨치 물어 띵고 맞으면 온게는 너무 깨기도 와 먼저 손녀가 깨는데 깨는데 하고 근데 그 너가 깨서서 컨트롤 되기도 와 얘네 규조 소속에 사바디 삼로 코마도 같이 소소 사바디 아니 디 삼로 코네 디 몽바디 매바이나 남자 칠러 주고 줘야 돼 패지 연구 말아 와 다가잖아 먼저 몽배 온게 아니 규랑 그 두바데 마신 받체 아니 디 갑두게 아니 소소라 직강에 제겐데 어다디 규이 소소라지 아니 딜라테레 연구도서는 컨트롤 삼마게 뭐 제대로 열어 어다들어 다 랑이 네바 랑이 사바데 레마자바다 메자바 제바 취미 사와 생들어다 그러 어데레다 랑이 사자도 아니 네부터 없이 거네 샤마도는 같이 모두 연기 다 쳐봐라 왔다 다 수마 랑이 네바 삼바네서 레다 랑이 네바 삼바이나 랑이 동에 갈쳐봐네 자와데 소속이 레자사 디남세도 바자샤 아니 겐지 채와 있다 아니 다 제보도 연구해봐도 뭐 쳐봐이나 아니 거저 가서래 지금 녀몽기에 그거 시간 용화래도 와 어때들 다들 근데 먼저 갑자기 자서 녀몽을 자고 여봐 인사 다 녀몽 라 갑자기 맞아 보다 아니 그도 이내 대화 되고 열때 아니 동네 좀 못이는 사대지 제 싸워자 말에 다 내가 들래 맞기바 차이 아니 못이는 맞기바 유튜브에 또 되기도 와 어다들 용되고 텐데 용되고 열다디 들려요다 숨바랑게 네바 삼반에 자월래 강게 현다 뇌제베 레데 문제 지지체 탐제 레라라레나 다기 될래 지데고 대다 통내 지내자 탐제 편준 잠샘수 줄와 대다 다기니 소놈 달라 dimde자.
And so we're looking at we're still on the chapter of patience, the sixth chapter of the text, and we had arrived at the verse number 68. And the outline of this verse is that we need to reflect on it being our own fault. And so this occurs in relation to the way in which we are revolving in cyclic existence is something that we have ourselves created. We have laid down the causes for our own experience in this reality called cyclic existence. And it's something, of course, these causes that we must abandon, we must completely eradicate. And so when it comes to others, kind of like causing difficulty for us, and we have this automatic knee-jerk reaction of pointing the finger and blaming them for our misfortune. This is something that we need to get away from, because we are not simply taking responsibility for the causes that we have created ourselves that have led to this situation. And therefore, we have to move away from the fact that when this kind of incident happens to us, we automatically step into the mental affliction zone of our mind, and the blame game begins. Now, we must start taking responsibility once we really own our experience, and that means every experience in cyclic existence, in the sense that we own it because we have created the causes for every moment of reality here. That really leads to it becomes very difficult then, if we genuinely feel that responsibility, to really raise the finger at all and to point a finger anywhere when something unpleasant occurs for us. And so that means that, we not only don't blame, but we have a totally different perception of the so-called harmer, the one who is out there causing us a problem, causing us a difficulty, and that we have that context that we do not create, we do not experience the result if we haven't created the cause. And that cause itself will not disappear of its own accord, that we have laid down that imprint on the mind stream. It will remain there, and then until it meets conditions that then will ripen it into a result. And especially if we have not applied the 4 opponent powers to try and ameliorate or eradicate that cause. And so this is something that if we don't do that, then we really have to know that we are going to experience the result of these causes that we've laid down. It's only a question of when. And so that then it's from that point of imprint that we have laid down, that simply we're waiting for the cooperative conditions to ripen that into a result. And so this is something that we must put into the context. We so much have this strong desire to kind of things that we want, and instead of getting what we want, we often end up getting more suffering as a result. Now, if we know why this is occurring, it will kind of like it will really reduce the kind of frustrations that we often find ourselves in by not getting what we want. Sorry, go on. And the root text, sorry, I haven't read the 2 verses that go along with this are verses number 68 and 69. Why did I previously commit these actions, because of which others now cause me harm? Since everything is related to my actions, why should I bear malice towards these enemies? When I have seen this to be so, I should strive for what is meritorious, in order to certainly bring about loving thoughts between all.
Le kanji shen la sa le kanji shen da la nyoba chebe le de ta nyoba chebe le de ngunche chi che ta de le de de che ta le di jebu tunge de che nyoye ge ngunche ta so sabe la ma sa tap cha ba ngunche chi che kar che chi che ra la nyoba kanjong wa tamja rangi le nyoba sa ba ta so la che 가서 동해 근데 좋아이네 안 랑게 레산이 용태 버치 레게 바사발라 동해 레 겨와사발라 아니 디게 용의 여자 디니 아니 마초아지는 용의 여자 레게 바사발 라 라레데 고살라 라레네 좋아인데 다제라 찌데 그 맞아 다데게 카두게 소소라 저거 가서다다 너밖에 되게 당어주 담에 라스긴데 카르트 콜라 마가 왔지 그랬어 오늘은 소주 사도 왔어. 다 거기에도 와. 로아. 질 건데서 또 소주 제시바이나 수바 겁나 코 수바 땡긴 게 팬통을 지래도 와. 다디 맞아 소소 삼로 땅다 마신 받치네 아니 거 동행기 교수도 아니 소소 삼로 다 가서래 다 가슴에 라인 바가서 동행 요에라 아니 숨요레스 즉 바자체 즉 가서데 고유체 즉 취도 못도 봐 삼로 땅와 다 소소 취도 못도 봐 삼로 땅와라 때네 아니 거 자세 통되기도 더 소소 취도 좀 봐 삼로 땅라 거 년차 되기도 그 수바 때에 기회신이 차되기도 아니 로다 아니 아니 콜라 가서데 니제 유야 차되기도 거다 코란 너무 상황도 전에 소소를 몇 번 정도 코란게 다 디바사 되기도 어떤데 지대 거다 콘도 사사 유지를 못 가르치는 콘도 사고 지대 그 말자 콜라 가서 가서 다 콘도 쓰러 가서 다 교육가 코에도 샤고라 콜라 가르치는 교육다고 요랬어 교훈에 사근데 소소래도 왔어 소소된데 제매나 아니 용해면도 왔어 어떤데 네발레 중화 대다 통내서 오다 파 sem제실에 사랑하면 파 네바 제발할 때는 아니 단대들이 연구 여바데 시베 통내 뭐 여기는 저 통내 진내자 sem제 탐제라 아니 패스 편주 찍래 찍 아니 잠배 섬수 좋아 대다 자월이 됐어다 소수 잠생 공부 닝제 검사 때 내가 유를 딱 거지 레면도 아니 저 가서도 콘르께서 유제 따서 말이야 숨도
And so this verse then is talking about that, by virtue of the karmas that we have laid down, there is this appearance of the other who is harming us, who engages in harmful actions to us. And so the question posed at the beginning of these two verses is, when did I previously do that? When did I previously engage in actions like that have resulted in this person harming me now? But we can have absolutely no doubt that all harm that arises has arisen from the negative karmas that we have laid down. This is what they rely upon. And in meeting with the conditions, they then arise as harm. But the question then, of course, is then why should we ever blame anybody else, the so-called harmer in that instance, for the harm that they are doing, when I know that it is the karma that I have laid down myself? I myself am to blame. I'm the one who bears the ultimate responsibility for what's going on. And so here it's saying, that I have sown the seed. And so therefore, how can I engage in dislike or aversion towards the one who is harming, who is just kind of acting out that harm that I have sown the seed for? I have sown the seed. And so that means that, instead of pointing the finger and blaming them, what would be a much more enlightened attitude to have? So, one can really understand that on the one hand that this person is being, how do you say, really helping to us to develop patience. It is going to be something that's very beneficial for our meditation on patience, and that to understand again that whatever is occurring for me is something that I have laid down. I've created the causes, I've sown the seed, etc. And as pointed out, that the suffering that we experience has a triple kind of cause to it. One is that the imprint for that suffering has been laid down, therefore it's going to ripen and you have to experience it. Secondly, that the environment that we are in has kind of facilitated the arising of that suffering. And thirdly is incorrect thinking, and that we have approached this experience with incorrect thinking. And the incorrect thinking in this particular case is to label the person who is harming as harmer, as the enemy. And so a better way of looking at is that to really appeal to see the person as a spiritual teacher, really showing us, giving us an opportunity for patience, that they also are, of course, an object of compassion, because they are engaging in harmful action for themselves, and that's going to lead to suffering, and that they could never be an object of anger. So you kind of use the reality of the law of cause and effect and the reasonings, as just stated, to really prevent any instance of anger arising towards the person in that case.
What is that? And pensem then jamba the ninja sem get to much in the Dagi ne sonam dala tim de chad. What Dilla then sonam saya gugubs to the gugub the Yova Shimbetone and sonam de Satuela and the Bezuchiguras.
And so, and then as a result of that, then by seeing how the harm really, the real source of the harm, then we could never be angry at the person who was just facilitating that. And so we can engage in that love between all, having loving thoughts between all, and and one's mind becomes really attentive to that. And so we see the opportunity not as an opportunity for blame and finger pointing, but rather for the accumulation of positive merit. And so that's what we should see situations like this in that light.
What the check? Takanjek, Korana, Dendege, never Magege, never two Manueke, and Chicago Java in a Ninja Kunelane. Nala Nugus Maibachin, Gansa Kola Nugus, Dikas a Shevetone, Ninja Kunelane, and what, yeah, because of the tablet Kebeton, the never came out of Soetona, what are Dikas a Sojuna Sorua. Ninja Kunan, Nga Tigimodo Sen Chavana ranches the Kunalandua. Da Koran Gumzen to Chena. Simje Shen Gumzen to Chena. And the da Soso in the Sulanugu Yubaina, never tea, and Simjen dealer touching Lang Basatu to, and the Yongumu to some such and the dealer Chicaso the Ninja Kunalane, and Korangiti never came out to work, and a tapsi Takachi. Korala maneuver and Tapsi Yaga Karichito, and share up with Segaton, and check what you do, Nije Kunela, and share up with draw the Tibeton, and check what you do.
And so therefore, it's the non-harm approach is that which we should adopt. And within that state of non-harming, we allow our compassion to arise. And so important in this case is to take the emphasis off of oneself. This is not me, this is not for me, it's the other person that I am focused on. Because any thought of oneself within this is, of course, you're a slave to your own self-cherishing. This is the self-cherishing aspect getting involved. So here, the focus is on the other. And then it's a case of whatever expertise we can bring to bear to cease the harm, to bring peace to bear on the situation. And that's very, very important. And so you realize that the harm that is occurring has arisen from negative karma that has been created. Primarily, that is the seed of it. And that therefore, from that point of view, one is taking the stance of complete non-harm, of complete compassion in bearing just the other in our focus, and then establishing one's wisdom to go along with that compassion, to be able to figure out what is the best thing, what is the best next step to make.
즉 근주 제와이네다 너바 개와이네다 그 소수가 저가잖아 아니 차와 지금 근데 주요바이네 너바 지금 근데 주요바이네 너바 개와디 아니 좀제 땡 사보터는 뭐요 있네 저 맞잖아 어떤데 너바 개에 나라 너바 수바이나 디 수에데 내게 레자 사면은 나라 너바도 수고 말해 아니 레게 담보 가서 경gur 소화된 나라를 요래 삼사 디 삼르다 아니 파조데 개래 삼사차 아니 데네 여자 데네게 디지도 아니 데네게 삼로 코알라 데네 아니 콘로 사이디 다 고급들 나도 물어와 그거 매번 찾아와 다 데네 갈리지어스나 아니 데네 너밖에 받들라 아니 디 콘로 사주 잡라 디 고급 심네 안디 추르베 튕겨라 근데 스페주 당고도 로아 답변에 디 동에 중화디 동에 심지신게 동에 정예디 고쳐봐 쇼쇼 삼사대 삼로타에다 아니 소소 레게 바사가디 고쳐봐서 삼로타에다 어때지 아니 덴데 그 동에 덴데 무테네다 너밖에 봐이나 호란레 녀바 사살세 아니 코데레 녀바 사바는 니저 녀소 못다 매벌 계산에 아니 덴데게 아니 저거 마게바다 탑시 가리 작쇼리샤 가사 호란 아니 코 이제 닝제게 꾸네라네 아니 셰르게 드라다 제베토네 아니 저 간사들다 데가서도 지금 소수의 심지 탐제 산제 공부토베 아니 유튜브 봐 디쇼라 유튜브 봐 찍다 아니 심지 될라 아니 편바 제라 다 탑시 약속 가르샤 제베코는 왔다 되는 지금 가서 셰르게 드라다 되면 띵사부터는 뭐 여기 내주시면은 다 쪼고지래도
And so whatever it is, whether it's somebody criticizing us or engaging in any kind of harm towards us, we must be prompted to engage in some deeper reasoning on the spot, to really see, ask the question, from whence does this harm arrive? And we have to reach that conclusion that it is karmas that I have laid down, the seed that I have sown myself. It's coming back now. It's ripening for me now, and that that the other person involved here is merely a condition, but the main cause is something I must take responsibility for. And if we can honestly do that, it is going to automatically reduce and dilute the anger that may have already arisen. And that one then, in place of that anger, we will have the space of mind to bring compassion to bear, and to bring the wisdom goes along with that, to be able to decide now, what is the best thing to do? What is the best thing to do to prevent the other from engaging in negative karma? What is the best thing to do in order to make this whole situation into something that is a virtue?
So that
And so when we ask the question, what are the Bodhisattva trainings, that's it. That's right there. That's the practice that we're talking about in that particular situation.
지금 상행이 개 그렇지 쳐봐 이네 되게 아니 개세가 죄배기 아니 가서도 튕겨라 줘도 소투에 개개라 맞아 소투에 어들전 제도다 난 남랭이 부터 들어다 준주고 중에 달랍자 소트들도 되더라도
So that is really the heart of practice, that whatever is happening for us, good or bad, that we are able to see it as a conducive condition for our practice of the Bodhisattva's way, and indeed to prevent it becoming an inconducive condition for same. This is really the essence of it.
근데 이제 애는 소소 삼로 땅 투마토 저래만도 튕게 강가라도 와 튕게 강가라도 다 상당히 내서 뭐 무슨 것을 다 쇼간의 관다포도 수준이 있었지 니만 등이나 상해나 소화 좋아 되기도 다 상해나 소화데 랑게 전바데 시신게 안 따다 심투바전 전바데 시신게 배주 따다 땅투바전에 ngwen tak ta je tu ba chene ane lendre ge namsha ti shila shabe thone ane kaso de tebu sangbo kaso tuta ta tebu nyeba pangtak beta nyamle je je to so dia ane je ge shen taibe ma ge semje tamja rang gela ane je ge kaso de nami ge rawa kaya me bachi lenda nami ge rawa ma bachi ane dende je de ambe semje 탐제가 된다 산제 고마 주외죠 sem제가 되는도 산제 고마 주외죠 대 산제 고마 주외다 소수 제도를 말해 sem제 생계 제도 다 sem제 생계 제도다 산제 고마 주외 제도다 소수가 지금 상해 내수 근데 중앙인 바네 대화 중에 디기 중에 근데 중앙이네 대 sem제 생계도 산제 고마 주외 아니 귤라베 가서 그다 귤라 아니 귤 가서든 귤을 배주 주주별을 배주 당시 받고 고도 근데 대마다 시신 거 거도 있다 주 안디 렌저가 남자 시라 샤베트는 시대가 자 아니 다와 된중 삼로 뒤ቷ네 주제 된데 저 초아이나 아니 저부 된데 용투에게 아니 된중은 남샤 뒤에 배 가서 좀 마야와 제철
And so really the reality of that situation is there. What we, of course, fall down on is our own approach, our own thinking in relation to that. But, it's something that we can apply 24/7. There is kind of like no time at which this kind of thinking, this kind of training is irrelevant, because there's so much good and bad happen to us over the course of a single day that we have ample practice, ample opportunities for practice. And it's key here that we have the mindfulness and alertness to keep us present to exactly what's going on, and then from there to rely on kind of our conviction in the law of cause and effect, the whole presentation of the law of cause and effect. And so we understand what these good results that are occurring, from where they arise, the bad results from where they arise, and that we see that it is coming from our own karmic imprints that we have laid down. And this is why it is a ripening for me now. Now, the job for us is to be able to transform whatever that is, whatever experience we're having, into a cause for enlightenment, to attain that state of enlightenment. And of course, that is centered on whatever benefit we can bring to other sentient beings. For the sake of other sentient beings, I am making this decision. I'm engaging in this point of view. And so and all of that, good, bad, the happiness, the suffering, that we understand that we ourselves have established the causes for all of this to occur, and to also apply the viewpoint of a dependent origination. Again, that gives the backdrop and framework in which all of this is possible.
어디는 다 들으지도 그것도 이내 아니 냠내지에 국업이 되게 가봐 줘나 가봐 되나 그러나 사나 통나 되나 다가 줄람나시 건지시 가려 임바 있네 아니 국업이 되게 국업 요르다 먼저 국업의 심도가 지고다 국업 심마도나 아니 국업 라반을 쇼도고도 국업 심도 받잖아 뭐다 지금 들으셨다 들으 좋아하는 아니 먼저 최주에 개개 요 말에 최주에 받자 요 말 강가 튕겨 자대로 남주 먼저 개개지에 대해 안 튕겨 자주고도 다들 가서나 가서 두 매를 주바로 받아 저 신경지게 소다 소신경게 암지케 매 소신게 개바지게 두 매를 주고 요라 오다 개세 단위 전부 그 저반냠래 지신경지게 아니 너바데 패배줄을 배주 당신 거를 받아
And so really then we have all the tools at our disposal to practice at all times, whenever, wherever we go, wherever we stay, whatever we're doing. That the opportunity is always there. It's only a question of whether we are able to take the opportunity or not. And so we must have that sense of awareness and mindfulness to take the opportunity to apply the trainings in all of these situations. And there's no excuse for us. We can't say that we have no opportunity to practice, because in fact, the opportunity to practice is ever present. So it's to be really seen like a medicine that has been prescribed by the expert doctors, the great Bodhisattva masters, who have seen that this is the medicine to take in order to cure oneself of one's mental ailments, of self-cherishing, etc. And so this is the way to look at it, that I am applying the medicine here to this situation, to make the most of every possible opportunity.
The next step to be na, ane nyomon ko yongsa go yo mare. Odo nyomon go tawde digi juna yang odo nyomon kiang go doa. Dunga juna nyomon kiang go doa. That is a digi juna yimba ine nyomon go kaye. Dunga juna ine nyomon go kaye ga se to to na samlo ta on de ko yongsa me doa. Yongsa me ba cha do doa.
Now, it's important to understand that if one is able to adopt this way of thinking, it really will close the doors to mental affliction, you know, and that if we take into account when one isn't applying this thinking, then, you know, when happiness arises, it's simply a door opening towards mental affliction. When suffering arises, again, it's been a door opening to mental affliction. But here, that when we are aware of the reality of our situation and we are applying this thinking, then we are closing the door to mental affliction. And truly, if one is consistent in this, one can't see any way in which mental affliction can take control of us ever again.
뭐요 근데 저 저단 차상와 야고제 심바이나 아니고 녀모로 국업 요 말이야. 당 어서 뭐요 근데 저 마시베 대에는 녀모 그 국업 심전에 아니 뭐서 그거 단게 도와. 그거 단게 도와. 당 뭐요 근데 저 심베 토네 아니 거지 디다 투베 토네 뭐서 좋아이나 아니 녀모로 국업 시라 매버려. 국업 배웠다. 녀모 국업 간가 뭐요 근데 저 마시베 대 국업 심전에 뭐들라 동에 유튜브 주고 도와.
And so it's really this case of really not giving opportunity to mental affliction to arise. And that means that when we are aware of and abide in the actuality of our situation, not just a coarse and murky apprehension of it, but something deep and subtle about the way in which we operate and our reality operates. It's very, very important that then we can move into, you know, something that is kind of deeply experienced from our part, so that we are no longer a deceptive. There's no more self-deception going on, but we see the reality of every situation. And this is the best way in which to give mental affliction no opportunity to take hold, to grip into our mindsets.
是真的因为啥我觉得南端里吧到 modern education 开发的效果吧其他老中几块的老中其他几块的对老中哈国所几块的对因为南端里吧给我有个那就安排告诉的他这个告诉的我有个那就的安排这个说工作呗我有那就短代呗我有个那就安工作呗我有个那就拿来了安那边过这个告诉的在这个是告诉了这个台湾的东岸省的跟着选举有没的呗是告诉了差不多呢马上的南多人把他现在没着了多安那得了的呢他点这这东岸我来谁都什么时多用来这当我出去用不多
And you can see really in this presentation, you see the disparity between a modern Western education and a Buddhist education, where the latter will really look into what is both conventional and ultimate reality, and within conventional reality, to really examine how happiness arises, how suffering arises, and trace how it occurs. And that when one has that understanding, it really is giving oneself the power to really control and have freedom in one's life.
다 이네 대긴 쉬원이제 대긴데 간자자 당도 단다 보도 거기 남중 알아서 지당 삼로 단다 침벌다 오다 다른 먼저 전주고 슝됐다네 오 된데란다 레몬도 당 문에 전에다 랑이 레사고 파줘디 깨레더만도 아니 깨레 샤만도 레몬도 다 먼저 단다 보도 먼저 지당데 노샤 다 단에서 디다 전주고 슝다 투바 계속 단위 전부 냠내다 투바잖아 다 지금 예사 소소 섬라 담자 샤잖아 강투두고 배주제도 개점 물어와 어나 디리샤 장가 사이 저는 팬도고 말이 어디는지
And so it's really important to us to realize, that really it has been the case that up till now we have been mistaken in our understanding, and therefore, just constant reacting to whatever occurs in life, and thereby opening the door to mental affliction and so on through many different avenues. But when we see now, as it's been pointed out here in the Bodhisattva's way of life, that we are responsible for what is happening to us in our lives. We are the ones who laid down the karmic imprints, and we are the ones, therefore, who must experience that others in our lives can act as the cooperative conditions for what is unfolding, but we have created the main cause for what is happening. And once we really see that, now we shouldn't just kind of say, yes, I have that understanding, let's leave it and go on. We must make a vow to really go, okay, now I must apply this in my life as it's been explained here in the Bodhisattva's way of life. I will now integrate it into my thinking, into my life. That's important. And that really, when you talk about blessing, that is the real blessing that will arise when one actually is able to integrate it into one's own life.
동해 중무 당도 라나 아니 야외 동해게 동해 전부 녀송 다 야외 동해게 규동 받자와자 아니 된 전부 주베 가젤라 가와지 바오자.
So then now comes a fourth main outline, which has 3 subheadings, and the outline is reflecting on the benefits of patience. The first of the subheadings is that we really have to make an effort for the sake of not allowing our virtue to degenerate. Secondly, that we must really reverse the causes of suffering for the causes of suffering in the hell realms by voluntarily accepting smaller sufferings now. And thirdly, that it is right that we should accept hardships for the sake of accomplishing a great attainment, something great.
Pena kimzi gyubetse, angasa pena kimzi gyubetse, kimshin shinto sonene, zaso kanla checheba, deni chungde doari, deshe kanla semchane, shedan mene chejuba, sonam tsikba doba ye, deni diye mela dorsa.
And so the first of these subheadings is then the efforts that we should put in for the sake of really preserving or not allowing our virtue to degenerate. Verses number 70 and 71 deal with this point. For example, when a fire in one house has moved into another house, it is right to get rid of the straw and such things that will cause the fire to spread. Likewise, when the fire of hatred spreads to whatever my mind is attached to, I should immediately get rid of it for fear of my merit being burned.
Pena Kim Tsibo Juve Mede, Kim Shenshi to Sonesa, Zaso, Kala Chevate, Cheva Zadene, Chilchung data, to quite Zadi, me parting a Zadinat and a Kangatsigorwa, then there's a Chilchung the Toa, the Demato Toa Chigua, Toa Mando, Chaba Miri Washington, and the Yadena, the Tachambuzi Denata, and Genchibuchingura, Chaba Miriwa. Merigua invitation to Devengo Kala Sem Cha. Chan as a D. Gigjavala Soba, D. Gigjavala Soba as a Sobe Gengi, Shedangi met in the Cheva Juba, Sonam Sibar Toba Yi, Chaba Deni De Mela, the Temata the Toa Resource Shaba. Takaja Geltislatum.
So here for it is using the example that there is fire in one house and there is a danger of it spreading to another house. So one would do one's best to remove anything flammable in that house for fear that it would catch fire as well, like straw and so on. And it's saying here with the example there, applying it to the attachment that say we have there's somebody's creating an obstacle to our attaining the object of our desires, towards which we have the mind of attachment. And so on the basis of this condition, and then we have the fire of hatred and anger arises, and that due to the fear to our merit being burned by this fire of anger, and then we should immediately get rid of it, and to again, really do whatever we can to get rid of that anger or hatred.
Da kaina mena ji kasore da ji 지다 le 당보 와서 소소 되바 여들 차대 지 용거를 때 이내 그 310 차보단데 최주에 튕겨라 저거도 조금도 디지 디기 줄라 저거도 조금도 디기스나 가래 디 줄라 저거도 조금도 아니 무튼의 디기 용액이 계획지기도 왜 되게 팬도도 어디 제바제네 아고 계획 제바도 통화 이물라 아니 된대기 가서데 디 고소를 디 시험도 만들어야 다 탑시 제지 그러다 팬도도 나 오다 되게 넣어요 말이야 계획지기도 팬도도 그 계획도 나 가서 소소를 가서를 다 semje 탐제가 돈 답변은 태바침비 흉내 셔버이나 태바침비 냠내 지금 거는 셔버나 semje 탐제도 산제 고마토베 계획지기도 아니 가서 팬토고도 어디 제바 제제네 아니 줘야 제바래 계획지기도 나다 아니 고 장한테 당 거야지 팬토고도 남게다 당 거야지.
And of course, as beginners, we are going to fall under the spell of attachment from time to time. And but what is it that we can do in situations like that? It's really a case of posing the question. Is this approach of mine now is something that supports my Dharma practice, or is it an obstacle to my Dharma practice? Is it something that supports my happiness, or is it an obstacle to my happiness? And that this questioning, this analysis, is something that we should get into, a practice of. That is something that is going to be an obstacle or is going to be a benefit, and that the idea is to take the wise decisions so that one does not fall under the control of the attachment or whatever the negative mindset is. And that, especially when it comes to, our, supposed practice of benefiting all sentient beings, the ideals of the Mahayana vehicle and so on, again, we have to pose that question. Is my thinking now, my proposed action now, something that's going to be an obstacle to the ideals of the Mahayana, or is it something that's going to benefit the ideals of the Mahayana? And to be able to, once we make that decision, then to be firm in following that which is going to be beneficial.
칼라로 소소 지난 칼라 소소 가사지 사기로와 가사지 사기르다 칼라데 라 차대바 이나 아니 칼라데 닝불련 두고문도와 그러다 이나다 칼라디 지다 소소 가고 예번에 디 가예디 차배 되네 다디 딜 되네 아니 저 가서다 칼라디 아니 가서다 다 저거 칼라디 딱 간저 저 닝부걸스랭도 오다디 차배 차디 개천부 맞지바잖아. 아니 칼라디 아니 론체발라테네 소소 가서데 수불라다 지금 dob게 dob게발라테네 아니 셈제가 된주버지 하고 좀 투바쇼 삼자 셈제가 된주버지도 얘들 론체가 이 삼자 어떤지잖아. 제발이나 디모 멤버잖아. 칼라 코라가 차잖아. 아니 사야 마베 내가 아니 칼라 간다서 그 주주 연을 촐라도 와. 어디 칼라들 시부 차서나 아니 디사에 많이 받지 아니 샤샤 간담서는 아니 디바카를 육다에도 다스면 육다에 차기로 와 어디 칼라데 님불렌도 받지 칼라데 지다 소저 가서 지다 이네디 집에 가서래 칼라디를 때네 아니 내 에너지 야고 용거래 에너지 야고 종아이나 내 심정을 된도 또 편도 제투거래 니가 또 삼로 다일 또 띵사바 삼당도 용거래서 어디 최주에 통계를 배주 당도야 Pena dulo ineta, pena mota ineta, kamba ineta. The church be 20 dubala, church dubala, and the nega will come among which a second, or the Kanga sell a panto dosa, the church be 20 to some such Javaina, the neg 20 Javaina, Uncle Chica Tame Chakwe, some of the Shukshon the Togura. Shukshon the Togura. What I Kanga Chica Tabata Tamje came by the Javato Sotuna. Shella Pemba to a Javato Sotubaina. And Chicasole, Chicasole, Pepper, some of the leto, Shukshundra, Lamjana to Marango the Latin board in it, and they Tapsi Jen, the Najic Tapsi Jen, Coach Machas to the Chala Yuda Gejamarwa. Machas to the Coach Chagweg, some of the any Shukshun the tongue. And the Dile de Chagwe Samlo Dile, and Nibule, Samlo Karisha, this Samlo the Yaji, Jumzen Samlo the Yash Lutuna, this Tabla, teach by Lutuaina, Uncle but the Nibush land to Gurwa. Chigelamas on a meaningful jet to Gurwa. Met all the Chajo Yamarso Chala Yutan Rabotan that cheated the Jamarwa. Chajo must Chagbati, like Yuanchigo is a Chabati Shukchun the Tane, and a Chagbe dog show. The any Shukchet the Taich. Chakwa the door so get the Shukchambo Yore. Rang la samlo de Shukchambo Jorba. Or Shukchambo, what I did or Shukchun the Tang. Chakwa samlo the door Shukchun the Tane, and a dealer then a Nimbule Cardo. Nimbule samlo Tane. Nobody you go about Chala the Mabaso Marwa. Dilla Chakwa Lord the Shukchun the Tane, and Taya Market Simja Tamjala Pemba to again. Chicasole, all apart due to it. Young men, so the Chaksa you de la pena, Tony Guato or Samotane, Chaksa you de la, the little Chaksa you di. And you didn't do what they do, Raymond of Hachevacha, and then there Chaksa you did. Because you didn't do the Chevacha, you didn't matter what the water or they to the turn it to them and do something. And you talk about some what in the compassion, what in the compassion, and the Samlotane, and the Dilatene, Tony Yavatanta, Tony Yavatama Dilatene, and nobody Jukuna, and Rangula Tewakesos, Tewati, Lotte, Tombani, near so something. What the Meba Ijim to Yomatene, then this was Samlotana Pacha Shagirwa. Pacha Shagirwa. 제가 차주요 말에서 잘라들 배주 단주요 말이 냐주요 말을 이렇게 저 말에 착배 대 숙소다 땅에 아니 거저 자차산에 삼로 땅에 어디서 로아도 변这个 딜라테는 착바의 숙소다 저 돈이 돌아 삼로 땅 것도 야나 가서 미다바다 된데 거는 삼로 땅 것도 로아 딱 간제 야나니 가서 다 차바 숙소보 야견도 야 미두가 삼로 땅에 되는 용어요 안 딜레고는 삼로 땅 것도 가서 착바의 파도 좀 잘라는 매워서 거요 말 다지 잘라디 님불렌 도바체 심제 탐제도 산제 고마 좀 줄을 배주 땅 도바체
So, for example, when we eat food, and there's that attachment, great attachment to what we eat, we are unable to take the essence of that food. That's kind of like it becomes a loss to us, And so that's the question we should pose really in all of these mundane things that we engage in. We have to feed ourselves, we have to eat food, but how is it that I can take the essence of the activity of eating and the food that I am eating? And that here we kind of can really start to kind of be mindful of why we're eating. We're eating in order to provide the body, mind with energy. And then we use that energy. How is that we're going to use that energy thereon to work for the benefit of others, to really dedicate ourselves to benefiting all as much as we possibly can. And so here, that's, the proper way in which we engage in the process of eating food. And so it's something that if we aren't able to do that, you can see how easily food becomes such an attachment that we get very quickly overweight and very quickly unhealthy. And not to mention the time it takes, all the thinking about that food and the preparation of that food, etc., that we need to be able to, have a deeper understanding of what is enabling us to function in this reality, and to take the essence of whatever we are doing and to be able to direct that, to focus that on our ideal of benefiting others, of helping all sentient beings. And that goes for the clothes we wear, the home we live in, the car we drive, etc. As much as possible, I feel like this is our temporary means to an end, as allowing me, to live in a kind of reasonably comfortable situation. And that, of course, there is this kind of like ordinary attachment we have towards that. It's not sort of dissing the whole idea that we should give away everything and abandon the life we're living. And this is not, it's saying that we should reduce the level of attachment we have in order to open the door to taking the essence of all of what we make use of. And that this there, is important, that in order to do that, we can connect all of these mundane activities with benefiting sentient beings, to helping all sentient beings, to benefiting all others, to use whatever we are using in our lives as a means to that end. And it's, by being able to reduce our attachment to all of these things, is really also allowing for that essence to blossom and to be able to take that essence. And so this is what's really at the heart here, to really kind of in every way instill more meaning into all of the mundane activities of our lives. And that and to kind of understand too that when we place too much importance on food, etc., that attachment is really only serving our own thinking, our own thinking as everything that we think is right, therefore I must act in this way. And so another way of combating that sort of attitude is to meditate on emptiness, and the emptiness of the object of our attachment, for example, to really see it as something that is lacking any independent existence, that it must arise independence, that is merely imputed by thought. And from that emptiness, to combine that with bliss and this juxtaposition of bliss and emptiness, trying to do that, even if we're doing it as level of our aspiration and imagination, we're laying down a very, very powerful and very important imprint by doing so. And so we can do that by meditating sometimes on impermanence, again, on the ugliness of the object of attachment, etc. And all for the sake of reducing the level of attachment we have in order to be able to focus on taking the essence. And the essence is always focused on using whatever I'm doing in order to benefit all other sentient beings.
Hope then was a chapa say in a chala in a tilla child, Kyongario, some such or Dilla Tene, and a Nomo Jangutua. Child Chapa Dilla Tene, and around the Kate to your marry. Chawa Tene. And the magic could you know social about day when you magic social about should might give a chunk with it. What did it? What did you really gig in Juna and condo secretary? Chaksuna and Rangi Chasa, you did a social taba, social matavina, same might give a check it. Takanja Gandina, that would chapa de la than Kiamang Buchongo, and Tagani sing Penangozo, Tobar, Tobe, Yula Chasuna, and a mutin Tobar Kireke, and a good to Wugua. Qual a tattoo Mudua. What a rot up and a coeg Yula Chasuna, and a coin a tattoo Mudota, coin tower gig chikitua. Rua chikitua. Today in Bayiza, Penachajavina, come sum nane, Penangozo Toba, Sunga, Sumekam. Penasunga like Kevala, Dungam la Machawach Gogutua. Dungam la Chasuna. Sungam la ke tugu mudwa tagani sing sungam la chasuna da deba ne tawa yimba ne sungam la chasuna ani ya sungam la ta tugu mudwa sume kham la ke tugu mudwa da sume kham la chasuna da chasuna 이게 타와 탑 tugu mudwa da 가잖아 거기 땅이 mudwa 주인의 땅이 mudwa 다 대상 어제 때도 되게다 타바다 탐지 캠버 터고 요스도 아니 그 차근에 대했잖아 그 땅에 랑가 가셔도 와 랑가 가be 맞아 아니 디 발라야 아니 동해 망고지 제한 것도 와디 마중나 마기 받쳐 그래 디다 칼 때나 마기 받쳐 그래 아니 디체도 고고 땅 그래 꾸마자 그래 아니 자만다 강가 용거다 착받들 때는 용 되고도 와 내수 망고 용 되고도 할 때는 착받들 가요 대 팽게도 아삼사지 그러다 그 띵사보 삼로 마다 띵사보 삼로 다나 학돈도 타바다 탐지 점바 되건 제와이나 왔다 안데 그디 개가리 지도 하고 있어 좋아 어디 들어와 좋아 어디 세도 왔다 되게 들 아니 들라 때네 아니 거기 레마 부 상고도 차바 들라 때네 아니 레마 부 상고도 뭐부상고도 왔다 되게 내주 차사 신배团에 아니 들라 마차바체 마차스도 안디 고 말스 마차바체네 유디 안 쳇도 좀 배주 간스탄 것도 안디 당시 맞고 것도 야 마차스도 어디 유디 배주 마다 계자 말이야 유디 배주 땅 거고 여바이네 유디라 마차바团에 대야 쳇집에 튕기게团에 간스 배주 땅 것도
So there are many obstacles to, many faults associated with attachment. And say one might ask, what's the problem? Well, attachment, is something that really either is a mental affliction itself or leads to other mental afflictions. That we have, the main issue of not wanting any separation from the object of our attachment. Then the inevitable suffering when one inevitably is separated from the object of one's attachment. That we are, and that creates that unhappiness. And then when obstacles are created to prevent us from gaining our object of attachment, or indeed obstacles that separate us from our object of attachment, anger arises. Anger, frustration, hatred, bitterness. So there are many, many faults associated either directly or indirectly with attachment. And that, again, like when we are, when we kind of really feed that attachment to the object of our desire, of course, there can be no freedom from cyclic existence, because we're still so heavily invested in the stuff of cyclic existence, and that attachment is just a symbol of that. And so, within the three realms of existence, we have the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. Well, from the form realm, the objective in the form realm is to lose all desire for anything within the desire realm, to have no attachment to anything, to see that as completely unsatisfactory. And so it's only at that point that one can generate that form realm rebirth. And similarly, if one hasn't lost the attachment to the things of the form realm, one cannot reach the formless realm. And if one is still attached to the stuff of the formless realm, one cannot ever achieve liberation from cyclic existence. So attachment plays a very big part in actually keeping us bound into cyclic existence. And it is that which can prevent us from any kind of attainment of permanent genuine happiness, and not to mention liberation and the state of enlightenment. And of course, to that which is able to, so that we can dedicate ourselves to the benefit of others, attachment can be the major obstacle to developing that mind state. It can also lead to our stealing. It can also lead to, of course, self-deception, of deceiving ourselves with regard to the object of our attachment. And so, when we see, oh, if I only had that, that would be so helpful, that would be so great for me. This is a case of really self-deception. And then, of course, the obstacle nature of attachment as well, all the karmas, the negative karmas that are laid down on our mind stream, like I said, all be it whether directly motivated by attachment or indirectly from anger and so on. And so there are so many faults. And so it's kind of like a really important that we can see that the lack of attachment is not like when one just goes into the house and throws everything away and has this extreme reaction to having anything at all. It's not that at all. It's the state of mind where you're freeing yourself up from the dangers of attachment, and freeing yourself up for and then by, as it were, creating the conducive conditions for Dharma practice. In other words, you've actually been able to create some space so that you can focus on your Dharma practice.
차수나 아니 녀자 쇠사버래 강한 쇠사버래 마차와체 배주대 심제 탐제거든 산제 고마터베치도 배주 당시 바이나 지대 칸고 여자가 닦고 있는 녀자 가요 말해 녀모 줄을 두고요 말해 녀모 줄을 두고인데 랑게 삼로 샤다 삼로 땅땅 딘디질래 되는 용 되기도 그래서 유바이 계자 말해.
It all depends on what's going on in our mind, our thinking, our attitude. It's not the physical nature of the object of attachment at all. If one actually was the owner of everything in the world and had no attachment, there would be no problem whatsoever. But if one had only one tiny object and was attached to that, that then would become the source of so much trouble and problems for that person. So again, it's not the object itself that's the issue. It's the attitude we have towards it.
Samlotanda rally to Ropena Narantuke Tanda Chicaso de Yeveke and Caso de Mobuticate and Ya Deba Kamda Sungam Hatan and Sungabel Hatan. And Taganising Tabata Tamje Kembeke and Tige Yuge and the Chicaso de Mobile Tenant Kaya Mare Kaya Marite. Kaya Putabo Kaya Marite in a Marantola Chabalatene can check your. You get the Tajin Sugar and Satombo Sanja, the Jaju Sambasuke, but 20 Chazan Yore, dear Pet Kojo, Ishi Rangola Tuba. Kaya Tolato, your mother, technology Tolato, the Kaya your mother, but to get Sosuke Tula Kali about the Chate Jore. You're there, and Konazu Gula Chapa Meva in that long Chena Kaya your mother. Kaya your mother. Narado de Ganga Casodeta, Gigi Suesha Jorda, what and that, and it's a Tuja Suesha, and it called law, you know, lawman, law Shukshan, Sugar, young Koti Kansasana, Controlla to Netamanguji on the Chasanga Pita was Kamarite, in a Dilla Chawa tenant, I to Mutuni to my own Tashubutua. Computer Luekija Moduata, Casangarazo Samlotanda de Latin, and it can't take it.
And so that, you know, in these realms of existence, so the desire realm and the, you know, we see the being, the celestial beings of the desire realm and the form realm, the formless realm, and so on. That here it's this being able to reduce and eradicate the levels of attachment that is able to allow for progress to be made on these paths, and that here, indeed, in the pure realms with the great bodhisattvas and other great practitioners, that even though they can bring anything about through their own mental powers that will facilitate their practice and their benefit of others, there is absolutely no attachment whatsoever to anything there, which in turn like frees up their minds to be able to totally focus on helping and benefiting all others regardless. And so it's kind of like really that which is able to kind of like the direct kind of contrast with the way we are a slave to our stuff and our technology, our devices, such as when we lose electricity for a short space of time, it creates untold suffering for us. And just as a measure of the attachment that we have towards having all of these facilities without change. And so we have to really kind of understand that the kind of attachment that we feed is doing nothing but creating continuous suffering for ourselves, and the quality aside of whatever we own or not, but it's our own thinking that it kind of lays hold to and clings to these objects of attachment, and that's where we need to loosen that grip and loosen that hold.
In Geshe discuta kasna ngarantulo yede Geshe tani chambolo yebal tsitala ngadu pitabu kaya marwal che chola to chiro kyon to chiro ine ngadu chaksem gonge ngarantulo kanga stete do Geshe tani chambotla ta ige dewa chenda ani jiga sanje ge singalo yede ge tzu yishi rangna le juba insa kyon shoya de kaya ba tele de be dewa gombe do jogo yore 배시우지를 ene 코나돌에 딜레 차베 착바데 매바 인자 아니 강에 요 말에 아니 롱제데 다다 요래 강에데 강에 요 말에 다 나라도 달레 뿌다보 가야 말다 나라도 그 삼로다다 디 약보이 디 뿌다보이 삼로다 가서래 추바지기 아니 딜레지가 아니 차네 대대고 요봐
So that point again is making about the contrast between our attitude towards what we have and say the attitude of the beings in the higher realms, the pure realms, and so on, that we have this attachment to something that we think is so great, but it is contaminated, it is faulty, sometimes even partly broken. But we hold it up as something that this is so precious to me, and that we have this tremendous attachment. Whereas it's something that the great beings in these higher realms and states are using. Of such extraordinary quality that we wouldn't even see it here, but they are able to make use of that just purely for the benefit of others, without a single iota of attachment towards it, and this frees up their minds to be completely focused on helping others. And that produces this bliss, that going from a state of bliss to bliss to bliss, because it is no way bound by or tainted by attachment.
And then
for us, yes, that precious object a few years later will be just thrown in the rubbish. That's the way it happens. So it's about that thinking, through our mistaken, our kind of a blind or ignorant thinking, we are attached to something which has no kind of inherent value of its own at all, whereas those great beings have absolutely no attachment, even though they're making use of these excellent things and so on. And it's all to do with the way we think, our attitude towards what we're looking at.
다들 임바 인상 먼저 지금 파마 빈자이네다 규자라이네다 다 근데 튼제 근데 심바네 디게라 착벨로데 교인바서 착바데 슈충다다 아니 디다 저와다 디게데 아니 지금 최주베 튼제를 줘야 돼 슈체다다 지금 잠바데 니제 공부 줘야 다 아니 최주베 튼제를 줘야 돼 슈체다다 아니 좀제 셰베 돈에 아니 거 지가서데 개체 못 지다 줘봐. 디 롱제다 줘라. 와다 딜 먼저 검지 땡고도. 디 중앙 인바이나 거기 착사가 유대 매워 소고 말이. 착사가 유대 착바데 파테 유코나 다가라 내내 디 최주에 통계를 배주단. 어디래?
And so it's really then this twin process of whether we are parents and children or in any other situation, that our object of attachment, that we do not focus on the object itself, but on our attitude of attachment. And the more we can reduce that, that's the first aspect. But the second aspect is therefore, and as a result of that reduction in attachment, now we can focus more on the objects of Dharma, and to developing our love, developing our compassion, to see that lessening of attachment as a conducive condition, opening the space for increasing our love and increasing our compassion. And so it's important for us to do that on the basis of deep reasoning too. That's so important, and to never mistake the object for the object, for the attachment that we have for the object. If we don't unilaterally get rid of the object, but we get rid of the attachment that we have for it.
다 condition by in any chala the condition by in the ganga rata pena pamada pugu parada drobo the drome para saza para oh toma man tension marking simjere and daring a leg on ge saza channel level and ye pugu channel ye pama channel 예 빈자장 예 trouble 좀 먼저 딜에 예 팬도도 구급제에 삼사장 아니 딜에 팬도도 로바 잡아이나 뭐다 아니 최주백이 통계를 줘도다 최기 최조선 차로가 최기 통계를 줘도다 뭐다 된데 삼로 아니 사회 통해 건가데 디나신제는 삼로 단제는 다 간제 최주발라 아니 류소구도 류소발라 아니 되게 맞아야 타면도 이때네 아니 게 타입에 맞겠으면 단자 편발 주백에는 최냠래 비다고 지기 삼사 어디를 잠깐 최주배 통계를 봐 자도와이나 아니 다 지금 가서 저 비다고 차버렸다. 초반하고 차버려.
And so, whether it's our partner or our children, our friends, our loved ones that we are, associating with and friendly towards and perhaps attached to really start to see all of these people with whom we have this connection as not in these particular roles, but simply as kind mother sentient beings who have engaged in that role of helping me since beginning this time. And from that, recalibration of the way we perceive all of these friends and so on, that we can see that this is my opportunity, therefore, to repay that kindness. This is an opportunity for me to help them, to see them as my Dharma friends, not just a friend, but Dharma friend. That is, all of this is these are the kind of conducive conditions really to allow me to repay that kindness, and that the food I'm eating is sustaining my body in order to be able to engage in this, and any other thing I do in order to ensure my good health is in order for me to be able to fulfill that role of repaying the kindness to all these kind mother sentient beings. And if we can start to dedicate our lives in that way, there's no question that we can become an excellent Dharma practitioner.
저 홉되나 어디 수지 개첨부 매개 소저도 어디 개첨부래 니리 삼로 된데 땅더나 아니 되네 타이에 막게 섬제 탐잘 삼로 되는 신뢰 투에체 되네지 아니 그 저거 당보 삼로 땅에면도 영마다 제일 걸리자 랑수고 용되거와 아니 뒤에도 편바 근데 주에 깔려요 말에 편바 근데 주에 깔려요 말.
And so don't think oh, that's not so important. I want the big picture attitude. No, this is where we begin. And when we begin like that, treating everybody in our circle like in a totally different way, because they're kind mother sentient beings since beginning this time, that we can then expand out to include all kind mother sentient beings, all sentient beings. And this is something that doesn't need to be forced, but it will actually happen really naturally. And that's something that we really should aim for. It's really important.
소소 단다 보도 어느 소소 깔래 잡네다 지금 강바 이내다 모자 이내다 규자라 이내다 디 개와치말 근데 평균에 미세 삼로 디 당교데 개와치말 자자자타고 평균에 디기.
And so we have spent so much time, and not to mention effort, acquiring our house, our car, and all the other objects of modern life. And that through a great deal of energy expended, money expended, etc., etc. But if we were to adjust our thinking in this way, to really work towards our future happiness, laying down the causes for future happiness, that would be establishing a much more meaningful result for us in this life. And indeed, too, it will ultimately not be something of as difficult for us to achieve.
Oh,
so we'll leave it there today. Scanlon has an interview.
Oh, yeah, 我这개치슈데 단다데 다 정보도 잘 좋다고 돼. 이나 개치슈데 먼저 가서 니리 소소 미진을 그래서 자고도 이 개치모라 니리 소소 미진을 간토도 자도가 제대 개치모 있어요.
So what's important is to be able to really, really apply in our daily life, to do our very best to apply what has been established here.
다 니리 미진을 잡는 거죠. 미진 가자 하면 다 줄다. 샤샤를 하요 말.
And because we don't know how much we have left in this life, and be fairly safe bet that it's not too long.
샤를 하요 말. 다 아니 하와 이내 점점 제만 냠네 그 하와 이내 가셔 삼루촌 다음에 그 차이도 디 차는 미대 대어데 미제는 대어데 이나 삼루 민내 시 매인자 냠네도 제투고 말 봐. 다들 삼루 또 다에 봐. 제투에 가도 제마도나 아니 차도와.
And so therefore, it's also worth, thinking about how our thinking itself will deteriorate, so that even though we're still alive, we are not able to think straight and therefore not able to really direct our reasoning and so on. So now, while we still can, it's really important for us to do our very best.
Sometimes 미지다 그 대대어데 마종아전 대대어데 삼로 소소소소 뭐 마신 거 소소 그 파마 빙자 뭐 마신 들에 차에도가 대반 냠네 안 들에 차도는 된대가 냠네도 제토에 걸어 요마로 제토에 걸어 요마래.
And so, we are aware of that, people who are not yet dead and still alive, but they are unable to even recognize who they are themselves, let alone who their own partners and children are, and so on. And so you have to question what kind of mind training can they engage in that state of mind. And so while we haven't reached that state yet, we still have some hold on our mental faculties to do our very best.
어디차 아니 되는데 거의 수도 시고 잡아도 소소게 지금 파마 빙자다 조보 조모자 낭장들 장주 선배가 랍자다 투바 제바이나 아니 거 다가란 냠네 차르고도 와.
And so that means that from our own point of view, to be able to, because of 미수이나 그나서
소소다 김장 나로라 사사이네 다 파마부 디 장주 선배 삼로 당다 장주 선배 냠네도 투바로 냠네도 투바 소소 제바이나 아니 다가란 냠네 차르고도 와.
And so that to be able to apply the ideals of the mind of enlightenment in what all our actions with regard to those who are our partners and our relatives and those who are close to us, our children and so on. I mean, that's pure practice in itself.
Oh yeah, what did it say? Yeah, that going to take in this the lama to be on which said there you what the compassion and 다 지가서 지 감성 좋아지도 가와께와네 동네를 마다와 인바인사 아니 엔델eng 예바 줘 연종 공부시 아니 랑게 지고라 아니 데는 연종 예발로도 지고라 빼마다 비치를 줘서 섭자자 아니 지게 지난 거 전화 유대도 좀 뒤사요 말에 또 팔다 잡을 공부시 아니 된대게 유다 매버데 가자가자들 셈도 시작이 아니 된대게 예발로데 아니 님의 경우 약강화 배매다도 내소서 다 심지어 탐지게도 산재 고만요원도 마담 지금도 토바지기 공부시 안 된대기 두마데 안 다외 경우 약강화 주고는 다 가서 님의 때도 내소 아니 반대서 라마르을 다게 지워변도 가져 구수도 정보도 짜도서 손대제는 손대 리버숨제 담배 가서 배 니베 가서 주 수매가 땜셔 산재 고만마도 제 소수 공부시.
And so we begin the dissolution process of the merit field by establishing a lotus sun and moon disk mandala seat at our own crown. This begins through our reflecting on the state of a cyclic existence, and that knowing that anywhere born in the 6 realms of cyclic existence is not free of suffering. And that we must attain that state of liberation and gain that sense of definite emergence, the renunciation of all that is in cyclic existence, and strive towards that sense of liberation. And from that arises the the lotus mandala seat on our own crown, and then reflecting on how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, are merely imputed by thought, and trying to place our mental focus just on that absence of the object of negation gives rise to the sun disk mandala seat. And then the aspiration to attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, our dedication towards that, our really engaging in that, I will attain that state of enlightenment to the benefit of all sentient beings, gives rise to the mind of enlightenment symbolized by the moon disk mandala seat. And then we uttered the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the space in front. At the end of the second, they arrive at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, they remain seated there. And we have the certainty that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment ourselves. And that this brings great joy to our mind. We automatically make the offerings of the 7 limbs of practice and the mandala offering.
And rangi ning de pema tab de chele joso sabsacha and chinang chuna yuden to yo mare sam khoda choba sablata and dendege ngebe lodi and nimejingo nyakwa chuto samsacha tene simje tamjega do sanje goba nyo nyo matam de chimu do toba chi samsa goba she ti dawe jingo nyakwa chu nime de nime jigo de nesusa tene bande zawe lamar da ninga be de kaje kusu tu jongu de zado so sonde jabal dambe gaso pe 니베가 수메가 땡드셔나 산제 고바마도 제수 오다들 고바셰 되네 배마다 이제 카좀는 남주 닝내바는 시제 네가 도지가 못상가 카제 뒤 타고도 덤배청아 다도 문문을 마음서 다도 문문을 마음서 무슨 거다 되게 지금 잠배한 거 순간 이제는 고라 이제 치고 자들 되네 고라는 것들라 아니 땡제가 어머 예담을 좀 샤만에 쏘서 나도 거기고 어디 공부하셔.
And so and now we start to establish the appropriate seating arrangement at our own heart center for the purpose of inviting the Guru Buddha down there. And again, we reflect on renunciation, this inability to attain liberation from cyclic existence, the state of suffering, and that we must attain that state to really gain that sense of definite emergence. And this then produces the lotus mandala seat at our heart center. The lack of any inner or outer objective existence, all being merely imputed by thought, by being able to place our mind on that mere absence of the object of negation, giving rise to emptiness, the emptiness of that object, and the sun disk mandala seat. And again, from that, then we understand the possibility of attaining a state of enlightenment. Not only that, but I must quickly attain that state to benefit all sentient beings, being the mind of enlightenment symbolized by the moon disk mandala seat. Oh, glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure of the Guru Buddha on our crown begins the journey down through our central channel. At the end of the second recitation, they have arrived at our pre-prepared seat at the heart center. And at the end of the third, we have again that certainty that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in this. And then the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tips by a white 5-pronged semivajra, and then surrounded by 3 mantras, the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction, all wrapped around, surrounding the lotus package.
Lama tuwe ombo nete, lama tuwe ombo kusung tula, wese pato meba chuna, rangi chibone, kandi ka pala wese chune, rangi dati, kusada luki nata cha wese ki chapchane, ane tila tene, ane rangi toma meba na sabe, ta kancha luki kone, ta suwa chiwa, majimbalwa, misawa chiwa, tsuyun chama tsikzu ngajira suwa, ngayi kone, naksendo cha loda suwa, yi kone, ta kancha chebe khana matowa, rangshen khana matowa, Tsering, Tsengama, Dinga, Tomamose, Dibada Juba, but sanction Taba Junso, Tagan Shingi, and Tsering, Tsengama, Dinga, Malasoba, Takanja, Tomamevane, Tajik, Yatoma Kellen, Tata Maso, and Yabadi Yuguru, so that Toma Kelleba. And Tagan is Jajus Toma Kellaba, Sangata, Tamsi, Kelleba, and Tata Maso, Gönja, and they never can saw in a Janchetane. Takanja, Donna Taka Judge, Koada. Rota kaja koa tanda koa because of the cake that never contagious sayo na pa chanchin tani ta kanja because of tabe gesu ju ta taba the tamje kebe gesu never tamje ba chanchin ta ba what the jungsu ani ta kanja jiga lugu na za semge dunge na jungshi ko man yong ba za long tile gyo kanja che ba chanchin tani 학교도 뉴도 산재 고바터에 견 치지데 타메가 나시 바자 타메가 나시 견 탐자단 가나 탐자 다바람 잡아시 차도 야고 시우충 서서 고바시.
Then light rays begin to emanate from the heart center of the Guru Buddha at our heart center, and they permeate every cell of our bodies from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, and affecting a completely thorough purification of all negativities that we have accumulated since beginning this time, all of the negativities that we have engaged in this life, and the one previous to this, and the one previous to that, going right back to a beginning of this time. They are completely purified from and thoroughly purified from our systems. All of the negativities that we have, that naturally occurring negativities, are those proscribed by the Buddha himself. All the negativities related to infractions of our vows, be it the Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva, or the Tantric vows, that they are all completely purified, and that all the faults of a cyclic existence, again, we see clearly, we understand, and they are completely purified, that all the negativities related to problems we have physically or mentally that may act as impediments to our Dharma practice, they are completely and utterly purified. All imbalances of our the four elements of the channels, the winds and drops, they are also now rebalanced and completely at our disposal for our spiritual practice. And particularly, the main obstacle to our being able to quickly attain that state of enlightenment, ordinary appearance, is transformed, is eradicated and transformed for a pure appearance.
And that's the Rangi Shidotra Lundi Yelenga, Lama Shaja Sanga Good, Lenji Chicken, Rangu Lama Shaya Sakulu, so the Shidotra 7 Yelenja, Lama Shaja Sanga to the Lenji Chicken, Rangus Lama Shaja Sanga Tula, Rangu Lunga, Lama Shaja Sakuzu Dongo, they don't use me, she just so what and Komacha.
And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. I see my own body, speech, and mind as being inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being.
Lama Shaya Singh Davish to Jusu Samsacha, and Ran Lama Shaya Singh Kurjua, Kusuntula, Kurjuna, Kurjua de Nala Rashima, Kumashi, and De Tugala Lama Shaya Singh Pado Meverton, and Taya Maya Simja Tanja Lama Shaya Singh Tatan was it, and Timbalatene, Deda Tanja Kijig Lama Shaya Singh Kusuntung or Yemi Jusu Samsa, Deda Nesaga Net, Deda New Tanja Lama Shaya Singh Davish to Jusu. That's Simja Tamjago, Sanjay Koma to Quiz and Yamatirin to Suna Kawakum. And Simja Tanja Sanjay Sala Kova, each of the Suzuki Katua, to go so Udenamo, Toga Pata, some race, did the water, they don't, but they don't use where she gets so the Kumbacha.
And then the place that I am in is completely transformed and becomes the abode of a pure realm abode of an enlightened being. And then seeing myself as an enlightened being, but completely empty of any inherent existence, I send out light rays from my heart center, equal in number to all the realms and all the 6 realms of existence. And upon reaching them, they dissolve into their crowns. They spontaneously arise as fully enlightened Buddhas. The places that they are in is completely purified of all fault and degeneration, and becomes the pure realm of an enlightened being. And that then from there, then that I realize that this attainment, this leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment as I have, the merit that has facilitated this, and I as the agent of that merit, again, completely lack any objective existence and merely imputed by thought. And from that, the sense of emptiness, this combines with void, with the sense of bliss and voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
Tata was a Samlata, Mobile Samlata, Munakura, Tendela, Yomarwa, Inaya, Takanja, Tanta Samlota, and Munakura, you wanted to jury Jewish shores, and the day Yomalata, Tony Nijin, Lamjula Majua Tamer, the day in Bayanza, and Rangeta, Jona, Dona, Sana, Tuna, Niana, Takanja, Chulam Namshi, Kanji Kavina, and it caso the Digijuna, Tungejuna, Nasa Juna, Kengochana, Tamashiba in the Tony Niji Nibuja Lamjula Quebec and Tunja to Jua shores.
So even though I'm operating at the level of aspiration and imagination in perceiving all of this, in terms of in my dedication, I really dedicate so that this may become reality as quickly as possible, and that that I will be able to develop the attitude of emptiness combined with the attitude of compassion in everything that I do, that whatever is occurring for me, wherever I am, whatever I am doing, whether a happiness or a suffering is arising, I will only see it as a conducive conditions for furthering my understanding and realization of emptiness and the cultivation of compassion.
gondo pe wara sho gari rawe kowe shenga dan de wa ma lu jowe ne cheres wo ye sha be si de ba do de joro me ai se ai de je je se je me ai je Lo san da me sha so wan de me
You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of demons without exception, Sankapra, crown, jewel of the sages of land of snows, Losang Drakpa at your feet, and make requests.